Hi there, it's Lisa Starr with another episode of StarrCast for you. So I'm just back from two trips, one to the We Work Well event in Tarragona, Spain with buyers and suppliers, and the other our annual iSpa conference, which happened in Las Vegas last week. It was awesome to see 2,000 spa professionals back together again after 3 years we weren't there. But there's a ton of great education, right? There's breakouts and town halls, but all anyone can talk about is the same worldwide. It's staffing. I think for the next year, we're going to be asked about staffing before anything else. And just to set the stage a little for listeners, I want to explain how it works kind of in the world. The US and Canada, naturally, the US have our own program. In the rest of the world, you go to school to be a beauty therapist, which covers the gamut of skin, massage, whatever, nails. You get a license from CBTAC or ITEC or Sedesco, which is good in up to 33 countries around the world, and you go to work. Hairdressing is a different certificate, an NVQ, a National Vocational Qualification. But these were things that were all started in the UK and are recognized in much of the world. Of course, the United States does it differently. We have 50 states. We have 50 sets of regulations. In the US, massage is done by massage therapists who are licensed only to do that. Beauty covers hair, nails, skin, but there are different hours for each of those qualifications, and they differ by each state. You can go to school for as little as 1,200 hours in the state I live in, Pennsylvania, or as many as 2,100 in Iowa and Nebraska, go figure. And so we have this situation where we need staff. Let's talk about Omaha. It's a border city with Iowa. Can people from Iowa come to work in Omaha? Not necessarily. Same in Philadelphia, near where I live. People from New Jersey with a New Jersey cosmetician license can't work in Pennsylvania. This is a complication that is really adding to our situation. And we've talked for years about the problem that it creates, but no one has done anything until now. I am happy to introduce my guest today, who is helping to do something about this massive problem. Welcome, Deirdre Strunk. Deirdre is the VP of Spa, Fitness, Beauty, and Retail for Canyon Ranch, all locations. She's a super busy woman, and yet she has found time in her schedule, not just to meet with us, but to work on this challenge. So thanks so much, Deirdre.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So it first came to my attention, I guess, last year about this compact license that you're working on. Could you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yes. So it's just obviously, like you mentioned, it is really a big challenge. And so a lot, I know in the state that I live in, Nevada, it's come up with a lot of our legislators who have come into office for our military families, and how challenging it is, even though our state here does a pretty good job of getting licensure to employees, and therapists pretty fast. Sometimes not to any fault of theirs, it can be getting some of the background things, or depending on how many places people have lived, and the information that they have to gather in order to get them licensed. So it can take somebody who a military family 3-6 months to get a license, and so this has come up many times. And so with that in mind, there's an initiative to start a compact licensure, where anyone who's in good standing with the compact, and any state who's in the compact as part of the compact, can get licensed in that state and work in any of those states under one compact license. Now, people can hold licenses in other states, but once you become part of the compact, any member state of the compact, you can actually work in without having to go get a license in that state. It will be a game changer for our industry and for obviously professionals, and then as well as businesses that practice and have companies and locations in more than one state.
Got it. So I'm so interested that it was started, as you said, by the military, the Department of Defense. I guess this is for spouses of military, and they're moving base to base, and the spouses can't do their job.
Exactly. So it really helps, because if they're only there for a year and it takes them 6 months to get a
Yeah.
license, then, they're without work, for 6 months. And, it's so important. And we're short staffed, right? And we could
Right.
be using these people and it takes all this time to get them licensed. And so really take that big roadblock out of the way, so they can start working immediately.
So the compact will be something that a state joins. And if they're a member of the compact, people can move between the states. That's how it's meant to work.
That's right.
So whose idea was this?
I think, the Department of Defense got it because of the military families. Like I said, like all the legislators were coming forward with, hey, this is what's happening with our military families and we want to support them. And so everyone will benefit because of it. So when the Department of Defense reached out, and asked if I would be part of this board with many other boards across the United States and many other massage professionals. Of course, I wanted to become part of it because it was something, even as a therapist myself, was wanting for, since I became a therapist. So and didn't understand why it wasn't. So it's been a really amazing process, and it's been really exciting to think that this is going to come to fruition.
So Deirdre, in your position at Canyon Ranch, you manage locations in, I guess, 4 states as it is. You can't move people around between them. Why did the Department of Defense reach out to you? Like, in what capacity did they reach out?
I think it's because I serve as the co-chair for the Nevada State Board of Massage. And so I think I've been in the profession, in the board for a while. I think also because I'm a therapist, and I think also because I'm a business owner. So I kind of think I have those 3 special, like kind of the special sauce, because I kind of have a perspective of all of them, right? Because obviously, as a person who serves on the board, it's our job to protect the public, right? So that's our number one goal of the state board, is to protect the public and keep them safe. But on the other hand, I'm also a business operator, and it's really important, and probably would have made millions of dollars of difference in our business had we been able to send therapists to other states. Like, for instance, we have people in Massachusetts, and Massachusetts was closed down much longer. And I was having a really hard time getting people in our Tucson, Arizona location. So had we been able to do that, and if we could do it going forward, they have very different seasons of how they operate, peak seasons. And so that will make a huge difference. So I think I had the perspective of being a board member, a therapist, and a business operator. And I think that helped in their decision for that.
Well, no doubt. It gives you great vision. Will this apply only to massage, or will it apply to aesthetics or nails or any of the other disciplines?
Yeah, so they're working. I'm not involved in that part, but they are separately working on a cosmetology compact at the same time.
That's excellent, because we do really need it. I mean, it's been a challenge for my entire career of 30 plus years in this industry. And I just always said to myself, it's, I don't know how we'll ever solve it, because there are so many schools in each state, and everybody's got their ground staked out. And I just thought, there's no way we're going to coordinate it. So, wow.
Yeah. And I think, one thing that's really important to remember is that, as we come up with the compact language, which we've done, it's been a really long process, and the language is done. And now you're going to be able to we're going to be able to get feedback from the stakeholders, and we invite everyone to give feedback on that. iSpa, I believe in May. There isn't a date set yet. I think, we were wanting to obviously get the conference out of the way first, before we task the core iSpa team with any more. But a gentleman who works for the compact will be coming on and speaking to the iSpa community, and anyone obviously can take part in that, and he'll be kind of walking through the steps of how stakeholders can go in, give their feedback. He holds meetings every other week, and people can come. Anyone is welcome to join those meetings and hear about it and get information. But something that's important about it is, if we say, for instance, we decide that 500 hours is the minimum hours to be, in the compact, it doesn't necessarily mean that the therapist only has 500 hours. It just means that we're trying to get to one number that will be good for all members of the compact, right? So I don't want anyone to get caught up in the, well, they don't have as many hours as I have in my state and all that. Well, if somebody from Florida who, Florida has a really big number of hours that they require, if they move to Nevada and they're both compact members, they're still coming with all of those hours. So we're just saying that this is what the minimum requirement is to make it so it works for every member state.
Well, that makes perfect sense. As I said in my opening, we have such a range, especially on the beauty therapy side.
Right.
Florida is one of the lower states in that regard, and yet it's one of the highest for massage. And you've got this range of 1,200 to 2,100 hours. That's very different. Now, some of those hours include apprentice time, but you do need to come up with one number that works.
Right.
What number are people thinking?
It's kind of been pushed back and forth around a lot, 500, 750. And I think we're getting really close to that number. One of the other things is obviously is a national certification or MBLEX, right? And just some of those qualifications that feel really important. And that's why it's going to be really important for people to come forward and give feedback before everything, goes into place, before it goes to the legislation. So we get all these great minds looking at what we've created to make sure that there isn't anything that we've missed.
So let me make sure I understand. The process right now is that in each state, they're collecting feedback from the stakeholders of that state.
Anyone can come in and is considered a stakeholder, right? Any member of the public. So stakeholders are all of us. So you can go and give your review, give your feedback. They want as much feedback as possible, and then we will put the legislation forward, and then it's up to us and when I say us, I mean the communities, right, in each state, to go to their local state boards as well as going to their legislation to really support this bill. And Matt will be putting out information on things that you can take, talking points, letters, things like that. They're creating a whole bunch of documents to really help support people go to the legislation and push for this bill to be passed.
Matt is someone on the government side?
Yes.
So each state the people in each state will go to their state legislature and say, we really need this.
That's right.
Have they made an estimate, Deirdre, on how long this could take to pass in the various states it's being attempted in?
Well, the hope is, we get as many states as possible. We're really hoping that we could get at least 10 states to start. And then the other states could see that, oh yeah, this is great, and really helping with staffing issues and challenges and things like that. And then just continue to grow. But we believe that it should be up in the legislation in 2023.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah. So it feels really exciting that this really could happen.
I know. I'd be stunned that if we actually made a difference, and kudos to you for trying. So right now they're taking this information from people and formulating the legislation. Has there been sort of a group of states identified as the targets for the inception of the program?
There hasn't. I think, I'm sure that there's about 25 of us on this board, and they're coming from all kinds of different states and different affiliations. So I know that a lot of the states that are on this board right now will, of course, probably be pushing for it. But what's going to be really important is each one of and why it was so important, I felt like, to talk about it during ISPA, was because it's really important for every state to try to get involved and try to move it. And even if they can bring it forward this year and really push for it, and then it doesn't happen, it could at least maybe come up again the next year, right? So we're really just talking about it. Then maybe they can see other states that did become part of the compact and really, and have pushed it through, and to see how the success has been for them for a year. Obviously the concern is, there's bad actors, right? But I think it's really important to talk about that there's really bad actors in everything that we have, right? There's bad actors that are doctors and lawyers, and and it's really up to the state boards. And I think that the state boards might feel a little bit challenged by, having more people in the state and wanting to know who's in the state and things like that. But it's also up to law enforcement to handle that as well. And so, for for the small percentage of things that are going on that aren't good and the bad actors, the 90% of the people, the military families, the big companies, the Massage Heights and all of these businesses that have locations all over the world, how great would it be to be able to just any place in the United States be able to move and go work, especially, when you think about people are doing a lot more remote work, and a lot more people can maybe go to move where their family is, and because their spouse is remote working, and now maybe they can go, do therapy in the state because they're part of the compact. I think it's going to be a game changer. I really do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I think back on when I started my career, people weren't as mobile. I mean, you lived in a state, you worked in that state. On occasion, you might be in a city on the state line, like Philadelphia is right across the river from New Jersey. We would often have people come apply for jobs in Philadelphia. We'd say, do you have a license? They'd say yes. We'd say, in what state? And they'd be like, oh, New Jersey. It's like, well, that doesn't work over here in Pennsylvania. Right. And in New Jersey, I mean, when I started consulting, which is 20 plus years ago, there was no different licensing in the state of New Jersey for salons versus hair versus spa. I remember building a spa that had to have a hair sink in the massage room because we couldn't get a state license to operate without a shampoo sink, because that's how the law was written. Right. So you've got a spa with a massage room with a shampoo sink in the corner. What? So it's great to hear that we're making progress on some of these laws, which have been in place for probably 30 or 40 years.
Right. And I think it's important too, when we talk about the stakeholders and people reviewing it, right? There are therapists that have, maybe 500 hours or, but they've been practicing for 30 years. They're amazing therapists. They've had tons of continuing education. And so that's why I don't want people getting caught up on the number of hours, because obviously experience has a lot to do with what happens too. And it's just sort of, depending on where people went to school and how long ago they went to school and just the change in hours. But I agree, the laws are so different in every state, and it would be really great to just get a really nice, cohesive, licensing. And there's still a couple states, I can't tell you what they are off the top of my head, but there's still a couple states that require no licensure, which is, always a big surprise too.
Right. Yeah. I know that's true for massage, and I think for some beauty aspects too. In fact, when I was looking at the guidelines, I think there was definitely one state that had very vague requirements. The rest are like X hundred hours of school. But yes, you're right. And for massage, I mean, I could say I was a massage therapist. I wouldn't last very long because I wouldn't be very good at it, but that's not protecting the public either.
Right, exactly.
So you made a presentation at iSpa, Deirdre. What was the feedback to that, and what was your hope, just to spread the word on this initiative?
Yeah, it was really just to talk about it a little bit more. I think it was interesting because it was 8 o'clock in the morning. And we know on the very last day of iSpa that everyone's been running pretty hard and gathering and all of the things. And it was a really good turnout, which was really exciting because
that's great.
And people had really great questions about, about going to the legislation and what they say when they do, and about writing letters and, how they get involved, and people want to be involved. So I shared a link with you by email that you can, if you want to share.
Oh, great. I'll put it up in the podcast notes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, people are welcome to reach out to me if they have any questions. But, I just encourage people to get involved. And, one of the things we talked about, people wanted to know how I ended up being part of it. And I said, I think a lot of times when you volunteer your time and you start to get involved with others, you really don't know where the next thing is going to take you, whether you volunteer for a cancer society or something like that. You meet people all along the way, I think, that always take you into these things where you can get involved in your community, and then you can support in other ways. And I think it's really important, no matter what you choose, that you volunteer your time, no matter how busy you are, because it always takes you to the next thing. And you never really know who you're sitting next to in a volunteer situation, right? That could support you in whatever effort you're, getting ready to tackle next. So I thought the panel was really good. I thought some really great points came up, and I think that it sounds like people are really ready to support this legislation.
Well, we've all had this headache of staffing, and even for those who don't operate locations across state lines, it's a challenge, and just anything that makes it easier. Even if you have one location in a state, But you have people moving to that place and they're licensed elsewhere.
Mhm.
And I'm sure hence that's how that started with the military,
Yeah.
this ability to go across state lines. Now,
Mhm.
Canyon Ranch has medical personnel as well. Have you had any issues with that licensing or moving people between facilities on the medical side?
Well, there is a nursing compact. That's why, it's so interesting, right? That there's a nursing compact and there's a physical therapy compact, and there's all these other different compacts. There's no reason why. And I think when we originally gathered and we were talking with the folks that work for the compact, the compact for the government, they didn't really understand the power of massage and what can happen with bad actors. But nursing can have bad actors too, and there can be drug issues and all kinds of things. I think it's just different issues for different things. And so I think it's just really important that we rely on the people that are handling the bad actors to handle the bad actors and support the initiative. But we do have people that can go into other states. We do also have our doctors who one of our doctors, who's our chief medical officer, he's licensed in a few states because there isn't a compact for that. But it is really surprising to me that there's a compact for nursing and there isn't a compact for massage, right, or cosmetology. So and it is a process. I remember how long it took our doctor to get licensed in Nevada. I mean, it's a process for them to get licensed. And I think it's really a process in any one of these privileged licenses. It just takes a lot of, paperwork, a lot of time, a lot of background check, a lot of, kind of jumping through hoops. And this will really help prevent that.
Well, to your point, I mean, a nurse can kill somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're not in danger of doing that in our profession in most cases. So if they can have a compact, and it's still deemed safe, it doesn't make any sense why we could not in the beauty and body care industry. Deirdre, can you speak at all about MBLEX and how that's going? How many states are involved with that national certification for massage?
I don't know. Deborah is the president of FSMTB, and she would be a great resource for that. I don't know. They're up to a really big number of states being involved in MBLEX, and then there's something called Matilda. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and it's just that's just an acronym for a really long computer database that holds any type of if you're part of FSMTB, it's like a membership, and you're able to go into Matilda and have access if somebody who's applying for a license in your state has had any discipline in another state. The compact will have will be the same thing. You'll be able to see if there's been discipline in the state where they've had a compact license.
Well, that makes sense. So for listeners, FSMTB is Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards.
Right. So massage boards across the United States are members of FSMTB. And that's how they do MBLEX, and they do they have access to Matilda, and just the support of bringing all the massage boards together. So every year they have a conference where they bring all the executive directors of the boards, and then there's a delegate from each state as well. And I've participated in being a delegate before. And then you just talk about kind of all the issues that are happening, in all of the different states, and we talk about different rules and regulations, and just kind of compare a lot of notes, and like CBD and all of the things that come up as state boards.
Well, it's so fascinating to hear that all of this is happening. I mean, can you imagine a future in which you could move people from Massachusetts to Arizona and back, or up to Woodside if you needed them?
It would be amazing. Right now, we are in the process of getting some folks in Las Vegas in Nevada licensed for California, so we can use them in Woodside when we have sellouts of groups and things like that. So, this would just take all of that out of the way. We could fly up a couple therapists and have them, work for a week or a weekend or whatever it is. And we can't do that right now. But, I think in Massachusetts, it's really hard because in the Berkshires, they're only a couple hours away from New York, and anyone from New York can't come in and work in the state, which is so silly. It's 2 hours away, and so that's going to be a game changer for us too, because people who are licensed in New York, if they're part of the compact, then they would be able to work in Massachusetts.
So tell us about the schools. Like, how do they interface? Do they become part of the compact as well?
I don't think schools will become part of the compact, but I think schools will be I think this will help schools tremendously to have a compact, because, again, if they're being able to talk to students about there is now a compact license, and these are the states that you can get a compact license in, or states you can move to that are part of the compact, I think it'll be a game changer for them as well. I was on a Northern California Spa Association call, and there was a gentleman from one of the schools, I think NHI, I believe, was the school, and there's like 10 in California, and he was saying that enrollment rates are back up to like 2019 numbers, which is,
great news.
So exciting. So, next year we're really going to I think, start to see an influx of therapists. It's not going to do us any good in the next, probably 12 months, but I think that's going to be really good. So hopefully the compact by that time will be really, in play and getting ready to pass the legislation. But I think it's going to be a game changer for the school. I think it's just really going to change the profession in ways that people can't begin to imagine yet.
Will there be CEUs required? I mean, have they addressed that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there will be CEUs required. So we're still talking about that number 2. And I think it's in the language now. I'm not sure where we landed. I don't honestly remember. There were so many drafts and iterations and so much conversation and breakout sessions. And I think we've had a few in person where we went to Washington, D.C., which is super cool, and got together as a group. And of course, it was in some COVID time still, so it was a little bit more challenging, but great. And then we've probably had 10 or 12 other meetings, that are usually 3 hours at a time, or some are all day. It just kind of depends on what we're working on, but there will be CEUs required.
It just seems important that you have something. And I noticed that some states have them, but many do not. You have like Pennsylvania, a 1,200-hour license, and then nothing, no CEUs again. So yeah, I think I look at what Chicago always did. They were always so much more progressive in keeping people up to date. And I don't think the public knows. I don't think your average citizen has any clue about this licensing, do they?
I don't think so. I mean, I think, it's interesting, as serving on the state board, we have a public member, and I think that they're really, almost mind blown when they get into it and they start serving on the board and they see the things that we are going through and the things that we do and all that. I think it's really, really eye-opening, because I think you're right. People just don't know. Everybody wants to go get a great massage. They're not thinking about all the things that, how to judge that, right? How to judge what a great massage is, and what sometimes is appropriate and what isn't, and how educated they are and things like that. They just know it feels good, right?
Right. I mean, when's the last time a client came in and said, I want a therapist with someone that was licensed in Florida because they have the best education?
No,
they don't know.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The only thing that happens in that I'm familiar with in Las Vegas is people from Canada and other parts of the world will say, hey, can I get a copy of their massage license because I can bill this to my insurance? So but nobody ever asks. I think it's just the trust of us, right? The trust of the businesses that we're in, and people trust that they're going to a well-established, and that they're going to be qualified, right? When they get their massage. So
they do, but you're right. So few ever ask about it. And some states require the licensing to be posted in the treatment room. Many do not. I mean, in all my years in this, I don't recall guests ever asking to see, can I see your licensing or your qualifications? Sometimes I think it's nice to put bios for the staff. Like, I'll put a short bio of each staff member in the client lounge and they can read about them. But it's not from an education standpoint. It's more just to connect with them as people. And
right. I like that idea. Yeah.
Well, I think it's nice because, especially in an establishment as large as like Canyon Ranch in Vegas, right? What do you have? 100 treatment rooms? I mean, a transient guest base. So they have a therapist they're very likely to see only 1 or 2 times in their life. And it's nice to know there's more to that person than the hands. You go into the room, you lay down, you shut your eyes. You just don't have as much interaction with the person as you might at a local place, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. Yeah, I like it.
Good. So this will absorb your time in the near future. I mean, let's flash forward to 2023 and it's been passed and you're able to reap the benefits. What will you turn your attention to at that point?
I think it'll be in the business, it'll be, we're growing and expanding as a company. And so I think it'll be like, great, where can we during our peak seasons, or where can we, know that, if we are a little more short staffed, because I think that we're going to be dealing with the staffing thing for a while, and where we can use folks, I think will be, definitely we'll have attention on that. And then, I'm always wanting to better the community, the spa community. So whatever comes up next, I'm of course happy to be involved with.
It's amazing that you have the time, Deirdre, given all the responsibility that you have. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today and all that you do. I mean, and we all need to give back, and we need to attract people to the wellness world, which is why I started this podcast. It's a great place to work. People who come into wellness from other industries love it. They never leave, and it's open to anyone. The barrier to entry is not that high. So I think this is a great thing that's happening, and I hope we do attract more people. And then obviously the ability to move around the country and be able to do the work you love, it would be a huge contribution to the industry.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about it so we can get the word out about it. I do have really high hopes that it will pass and that we'll get a good amount of people in the compact state in the beginning. And I would just say, I love this industry. I started as a therapist. There isn't a better job in the world. And I think that we are so lucky to work in this industry. I know I'll retire out. I always said I'd probably end up like volunteering massage when I'm in my retired years, just because I love the business so much. But I do encourage people, no matter what you do, to get out and get involved, because I think everyone is busy, but time is so valuable to people. And when you can volunteer and make a difference, you should. It's our responsibility, right? It's our social responsibility.
Well, it is our social responsibility, and we're fortunate to be in a space right now that is attracting the attention of the consumer. Nothing like a pandemic to say, hey, maybe I should take better care of myself. So
absolutely.
I think the future is rosy. And thank you again, Deirdre Strunk, VP of Spa, Beauty, Retail, and Fitness for Canyon Ranch, for joining us and all of your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see you.
You as well. Thanks, Deirdre.
All right.